Okay, how's it going? How's everyone doing this Wednesday evening? It's 9 o'clock and we are on Facebook and we are on YouTube as well. Jake, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Very cool. Let me know if everything is fine. You hear everything? Everything sounds good. So we are getting very far with this. Oh, great. Fantastic, Jacob. I always appreciate that feedback. So we have several cameras today. These are the different angles we have. We have this one, camera 1, and we got a little window to see. I think this is camera 2. Ah, thank you. Thank you so much. And then we have here, we have camera 2. This is a pretty good one. So if we're working, you can definitely see a different angle. So I like this one. And then we got camera 3. And this is good because let's say if I'm over here, you still get this angle. A little bit of glare, but that's to be expected, especially with graphite in the later stages. And of course, this one. So hope everyone is doing great. Today we're going to start working on the hands here. So I think it's going to really get to the nitty-gritty of it. Pretty soon we are going to pretty much be able to start another project, so I'm very excited about that. And let's see if I can actually pull up the reference material for you guys to see. Let's see, and here we go. Okay, so that's the reference material, so you can definitely see what I'm working on. So let me go ahead and get my reference material out, and we're going to work on the hands. So we're going to definitely go into that. And the way I'm going to begin is to go ahead and start doing some blending techniques and working on the cast shadow of the fingers. I know last week we got up to this finger, just to the beginning of the resolution, and then we're going to continue with the whole hand, and then the shoulder, and then finally the hair, and then go a little darker with some of the highlights and in the face. So we are doing very well. Let me see if I have a scrap paper. So I always use a scrap paper. You don't want to reposition the oils from your hand or smudge or what have you. And sometimes if your oils from your hand gets on the paper, it's going to stain and it's going to really hinder the quality of your work. So definitely something you want to be mindful of. Looking here, I can see that I can probably go a little bit thinner here in her cheekbone. It doesn't come out as much. And just blend that out. Cross hatching is very important in all stages when working in detail. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we could do some of the cast shadow here on this finger. And of course, the cast shadow is, it reacts differently than form shadow. Cast shadow sort of just drapes over the surface and takes on the shape of the surface, a lot like a sheet works over a car. The sheet is, this sort of flat thing, but when you put it over the car, it sort of wraps around the car. And that's how the cast shadow is. Very similar in the way that reacts. And I'm going to take my kneaded eraser, and I'm just going to put some lights in this shadow here, in this cast shadow, and that helps create depth. Okay, Now let's see if we go ahead and work on the cast shadow on the other fingers, and then we can go in and work on the form shadow. Now, interesting, very good question. So cast shadow is when the light is coming down and there's something in the way. When there's something in the way of the light, it casts a shadow. You know, like when you're standing in the summer and your figure casts a shadow onto the pavement, that's cast shadow. Form shadow is when the form is being affected by light and shade, chiaroscuro. So you have the light coming in, it's affecting the part of her nose that is facing the light the most, and as it turns away from the light, it gets less and less light, more and more shadow. So that's form shadow. Cast shadow is an object that casts a shadow. Form shadow is an object that is being affected by light and shade. I hope that helps. Good question. And of course, we're going to go ahead and continue with these cast shadows here. And as you can see, these cast shadows really do help in describing the form of these fingers. Ah, thank you. Oh, well, I appreciate that. You know, those are things that, you know, are very difficult concepts. It took me a while to actually really get that into my brain. So I realize those are like so important to understand when we're working working in realism. We have to understand what we're working on. And Jake, you're on YouTube, right? Now remember, they're in shadows, even in cast shadow, you'll see some form, actually some light that sort of creeps into those cast shadows. It's not a complete absence of light because there's a lot of light bouncing around from other objects. And then here, which is very interesting, is this finger, the pinky. I have been doing some really late night live streams, and they're pretty cool. Been doing these experiments with sepia, F&W sepia ink, which has been a lot of fun. So absence of light would be when two objects are so close to each other the light can't reach it. Sometimes, yes, and there really is very rare that there's an absence of light. It's all relative, right? I guess, like, let's say if you're in a dark room and then you have a shadow, and then you have the closet open, and then inside that closet, that would be like the closest thing to complete absence of light. And we're always adjusting the drawing. Oh, that's right, Wendy. Thank you. How you doing? You know what? I have to do something. This is crazy. My bad. So hold on one second. You might hear some double talking in just a few moments. Just okay. Now what I gotta do is just go on Facebook. And then all I have to do is put it on public. Okay, Wendy, I am now on Facebook. Thank you so much. That is so helpful. Uh, oh my God. You know, what I do is I put it on private to get it up and running and get all the bugs out. And then I put it on public, and I forgot to put it on public when it was 9 o'clock. But thank you for letting me know. Oh my goodness. So cool. So we are definitely on Facebook now too. So I'm going to stay online a little bit longer since it's been like 10 minutes. My Facebook people have not been able to find me. How embarrassing. But that's why I do so many of these. Live streams. I did, like, in the last 30 days, I think I did 10 of them. And it's just working out these little bugs, these little mistakes that can be made. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Okay, so it's on public. It might take a while to go on your page. I'm so sorry, Wendy, but thanks for letting me know about that. Oh boy. And it's always good to take our time and work out the drawing. Oh, no, thank you, Wendy. That is such an amazing help. You just don't know. You saved the day, that's for sure. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support that you guys give. And I figure if I'm working anyway, I might as well share it with you guys, and hopefully we can inspire each other. So that's my whole thinking. And this is pretty good because we are basically just getting the hand down and then the shadows here. So once I get the position of the hands, and I'm happy with that, and how the cast shadow looks. Like that. Hey, Vladimir, good to see you. How are you? Thanks so much for joining us here today. I really appreciate that. Yes, definitely. That's what I really want. I want to start an art community, and I want it to be on my Facebook and on YouTube, and my Patreon. I really want to start a community, really, where it's sort of like an interactive art school. And, to actually have the art education that I was blessed with and share a lot of those elements, at no charge or as little as possible, because I know, number one, best art schools are in the big cities. A lot of people can't get to them. And also, being an artist is a very isolating thing. Lisa, how you doing? So sorry about it. I wasn't online right away at 9 o'clock. I was, but I had it on private, and that's what happened. Good to see you, Lisa. So what's really cool, as you can see, like up here, let's see, up here is my YouTube people, and down here is my Facebook people. So you guys could actually interact, which is really cool. Oh, very cool. I'm so glad you're here, Lisa. It's good to see you. And so what we're going to do, and what we're working on now, is we're working on just shaping this hand, getting the hand situated so we can start making those forms turn. We were talking about the difference of cast shadow, which casts a shadow, an object casts a shadow. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I'll show you guys the cameras. We got, this camera here, which is really cool. So you can see this angle. And you can see the reference material, which is a pretty cool. And then we have this one. Let's say I'm working over here, and perhaps it'll be an unobstructed view. This side has a little bit of glare, but that's almost impossible to avoid. And then we have this one where I'm talking to you guys. Bad hair day and all. So yeah, so I hope you guys are doing really well. And I'm so glad you're all here. And I'm probably going to stay up to, I don't know, maybe an extra 15 minutes. That might be very cool. So today is Wednesday, right? Every day sort of blending into each other lately. Yes, Wednesday, cool. So I'm doing some really cool, oh, great, thanks. So I'm doing some, a really cool regular video that I'm editing. And what's really cool is one of the elements that is in there. When the letters, they sort of go up in the distance like that. So I have that sort of a Star Wars thing going. So I'm having fun with that. It's actually part 5 of this one that I've been working on, the airbrush one. So I'm really happy with the way this airbrush painting is turning out. Let me put it this way. And I must rather work big, but it's great because I really feel that it's crucial to do the airbrush stuff. It's important. I was telling Wendy. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you so much. Wendy and I were working on this the other day, which is this little sepia experiment, with the airbrush, just working with sepia paint. And it was actually F&W ink, and this is on a Bristol vellum. So doing these small things and the drawings really help you to do those big, beautiful paintings. And I think we have to do as many of these small little studies as much as possible. True, yes, working big is great, but you want to do some small, quick ones too, because this way you can work out like quick ideas, like on the fly. Heath, how you doing? How's everything? Oh, great. I'm also on YouTube as well, Heath. So Did you get the links I sent you of the underpaintings? I hope so. Let me know if you did. Okay, so what I'm going to... Thanks, Jake. I appreciate that. So what I'm going to do is let's start by sort of getting some of this hand turning, putting some light and shadow. And of course, this is definitely tricky, but little by little. Oh, cool, great, great. And hopefully they'll help you a little bit, you know, with with my thinking using underpaintings. I don't know about everyone else, but for me to handle everything, the drawing and the values and the color all at the same time, that's a little overwhelming for me. I like breaking things down. And plus, 19th century French academic painters can't be wrong, right? So that's how I look at it. Ingres, David, you know, they use underpaintings all the time. Those most of the 19th century French academics, neoclassicists. Great, yeah, the revolver painting's coming out really good. Jake's doing this painting, and he has this revolver. And he really did it nice because he had the colors where they weren't totally blended, but optically you will blend them, which is really cool. So I really enjoyed that piece. How it's coming out. It's not done yet, of course. Now there's two ways that we can approach this. And now what we could do is basically we'll just go ahead and do a dusting of the white pastel, and then maybe we can go ahead and sort of pull out some of those shadows using a variety of pencils. Wow, 30 colors, Heath? That's a lot. Man, that means that's gonna... Now, that would be real interesting to work straight with inks, right? As a painting medium, like a full resolved painting. Now, I know that Wendy ordered some airbrushes, and they're coming, so that's exciting. So Wendy's going to start airbrushing, and she's going to start working in ink, so I'm excited for her. So they're coming tomorrow, is that correct, Wendy? Christmas in June. Oh, great. So we're going to paint a rose. That's going to be fantastic. Now it's interesting how the cuticle or the nail bed sort of catches some light on almost every finger here. And then also right next to these cast shadows, the light is pretty intense on her arm. And it's almost like it's brighter right next to the cast shadow, or it at least seems that way. It really does. It just flows amazing. Just incredible, incredible the way that it just retains such a nice vibrancy too. I mean, I'm so pleased with, you know, with the way this looks. I don't think any paint, like whether it be Golden or Createx, is as exciting or more exciting than that. But that's what I mean about doing these little ones where you're not totally married to it. And, you know, if you mess up, you just go on to the next. And I'm going to try all different types of paints and just test it out. What's best? Or what feels right to me. And then maybe I could impart some of that to you guys. And of course I'm using this this stump dedicated to the white. But as you can see, when we're doing this, we're actually moving that hand comes forward further closer to us than the arm that it's on. And of course we're going to go further into this, but let's go ahead and see if we could begin to shape these fingers. And the main thing is to always take your time and don't get emotional about it. If it's not coming out okay, that's okay. Continue with the fundamentals. Continue working, but make sure that you are concentrating on the elements of three-dimensional form and space. Keep checking the drawing, but do it slowly. And then little by little. Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. Yes, little by little the hand will start to come forward. And then when I actually put in the shadows as well, the fingers will actually feel more three-dimensional. Especially against her shoulder, which is relatively flat. And of course, we're going to do some of the cross-hatching techniques with the fingers. Oh, as far as like, what am I using as far as the eraser goes? Now this is the mono eraser. It's the mono 0, which is really great. Let me see if I could get to a different. See this one? It's a really great eraser. That really helps. It almost works like a pencil. And then we got to make sure that I pay attention to, and what's really good about the eraser technique is that you can actually refine the drawing with the eraser as well. And I can see the contours are a little off. It's surprising. A lot of times I'm pretty much on the money with the drawing, but for some reason with this hand I was pretty far off. Oh, you got the Eclipse and the Higgins. So cool. I just caught that, Wendy. Wow, that is neat. I that's still like probably for the last 3 weeks. This airbrush is the Eclipse SBS. That's the one that Wendy got today, and this is like my favorite airbrush for like the past 3 weeks to a month. As you can see, when you're painting, Wendy, for a while, when you get more experience with the airbrush, almost always you don't have this needle guard on here. This backing is never on it. Most of your pro airbrushers never have that, and of course the needle cap. But that's something you keep on there for a while until you feel comfortable not to bend the needle. So this is a great. You're going to be very happy with this particular airbrush. Oh, okay. So you're working on a hand? Definitely. Later, send me a picture of it. We'll look at it together, and that would be pretty cool. So maybe we could, maybe sometimes a second pair of eyes helps, And Wendy, we're gonna be taking this apart and putting it back together, so you can do it yourself, so it's not scary. Funny you should say that. Wendy and I were working the other night on this sepia ink here, and it wasn't getting dark enough. And then I was like, do I have to go and get some? I know Higgins is not an acrylic base, so that one wouldn't work. But then I realized that I bought this a really long time ago in my studio, and this is the carbon black, and I mixed it, and actually mixed really well. So far, I think you can mix the Liquitech and the FW. They seem to have a very similar chemical makeup. Have you found that as well, Heath? Yes, Jake. Definitely the Eclipse has this amazing engineering. Yes, and to answer your question, Jake, definitely you always want to step back and make sure you don't overdo things. And if you're having trouble, just continue working. Maybe, like I said, maybe step back a little bit and work on another part of the painting or drawing, come back to it, and that usually helps me. And also, which is really cool, I realized I had this sepia colored pencil, and that's going to work really well. So I'm going to do a live feed later this week, maybe even tomorrow, of finishing up that sepia painting using the black ink with the sepia and incorporating the paintbrush and also this colored pencil. So pretty cool. Now for her hand here, her back hand, there's another hand behind, and that is receiving quite a bit of light. Now, not as much light as I'm indicating here, but I'm going to go ahead and calm that down. Oh yeah, Liquitex I tried. Not a big fan of their, really not a big fan of Liquitex acrylics. Big fan of Golden though. So, quick note. So I am basically a pastel painter. That's my main thing, right? But the funny thing is, I haven't done any real tutorials on pastel. And the reason is, and I'll tell you, because I developed my own technique. And I don't want it to be stolen by another artist and for them to call it theirs. So I've been really wondering how I'm going to unveil this technique. There's only a handful of people who know it, who studied with me. And I did do some demonstrations about 10 years ago. And someone came up to me and said that that whole thing with pan pastels was an attempt to copy my painting method. I know this might sound paranoid, but if you knew my painting method in pastel, you definitely would understand why. Someone came up to me and said that they were trying to take my idea. So I'm so weary of doing a pastel demonstration, but that would be like, I mean, really groundbreaking, and I consider myself like an extreme expert in pastels. So I can't afford to patent the idea. So what I'm thinking of doing is, I did write it down. If I put it in a blog before I actually do my demonstrations and my videos, that might protect me from a company like Richardson or some other company to actually take my idea and make money on it. And they tried to do it with pan pastel. Now pan pastel sucks. You know, I hate to say that, but it's really bad, because they have half of my idea. It doesn't work, but with the rest of my idea, it actually comes together as a painting. It comes together as almost like an oil painter's way of painting in pastel. So yeah, so I'm definitely gonna figure that out, because I definitely want an ebook's a good idea. Yes, that is very good. So I got to get on the ball. You know, it's like I love painting and everything, but I'm a terrible business person, as most artists are, right? Just terrible. It's so true, Wendy. Oh, so I can mail it to myself. That's a good idea. Wow, that's a great idea, Wendy. So definitely, and those are the ebook, mailing it to myself. Those are great ideas. So the next lesson that I'm going to do after this one is, I'm actually going to do something where, for like next to nothing, you could pay for me to send you a paper that's ready, that is already projected with the image, and also send you the reference, and then you can go step by step with me using the supplies. And if you need the supplies, I can get those supplies for you and send them to you as well. So that would be something that would actually take the live streams next level. And then, of course, I'll send you the file of the, and then I'll actually put it online so you can watch those videos in high definition. Wow, that's a really good idea, Wendy. Definitely, that's a great idea. I'll tell you, high flow is really good, Heath. Heath asked about the high flow. what do I think of that in the airbrush? Very good. I still like to maybe with the high flow reducer. Used to be called transparent extender, and I like it. I like my paints to have the consistency of skim milk. That's important to me. And this way I could lower I always love lowering the air pressure because I like to get really close with the airbrush, I like to really get in there and get those really tight details. So if the paint is as thick as high flow comes out, I have to raise the air pressure, and then I get spidering. And I know you guys know what spidering is, that's for sure. So very cool, Lisa. I'm very excited about that as well. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. And I think it would be something that you would really be able to work with me as I'm working. That's how when I have my classes, my one-on-one classes in my studio with my students, I see the students just grow like so fast. And when I do mean grow, that they can go ahead and do it on their own. And that's the kind of teacher I am. It's like, I want you to go ahead and do your own without me. Because I want to teach the concepts. I have this one here. I think I talked about it before. Now there are, let me switch cameras here. Now we have two. We have this one, which is the 0.5. I don't think this is the camera that okay. So this one we have is the 0.5. And that's really, really thin, but for really tight details, I like this one. It's by Graph Gear. Also by Pentel. It's called the Graph Gear 500. And this is a 0.3. And this is for really tight detail. And so if you get a chance to get one of them as well. So we're going to be working on some of the cross-hatching techniques of the hand here. We got to make this hand turn. I think one of the main things that I actually like about this technique is that you really get acquainted with the tools and what they do, and before you know it, it becomes second nature to move around with those tools, from different erasers, different pencils, to the 6B, and then before you know it, you almost are doing this subconsciously. And I'm a real big fan of the work being fluid and just like not seeing the technique, but just seeing the work. Thinking of getting a 6B because there's a dark accent here that I think would be good. Let me see if I can erase this. Sharpen this here. Okay. Definitely need a better sharpener. Let me see what this... I just found this sharpener the other day in the closet. Let's see how this one works. Oh, this is a good sharpener. But you see how it's messy when it doesn't have that housing? So I'm going to take this 6B and I'm just going to hit that accent point. And then see how we're starting to turn that hand a little bit, that finger. Oh, okay. For this particular one, yes. This is the gunmetal, and it's by De La Rowney. I know you're starting to see a pattern with De La Rowney products. Then I'm not sponsored by them yet, but I do love their products. I'll tell you, very good. So Canford, you can get it at Dick Blick. I know you guys you're in Canada, Heath, right? So I think there's an art store up there where you can definitely purchase this. It's about $10, $8, $9, $10, depending on where. If you have trouble getting it, let me know. I can definitely help you out. And also you can see where there's a turning of this finger here. Uh-oh, I lost the chat on YouTube. I can get that back pretty quick. Getting pretty good at this. See, I got the chat back on YouTube. But that's my whole thinking, everybody, is to get to the point with these live streams that I've done so many of them that I see the problem before they happen. And I think that's why when you see a lot of people when they try and live stream, they try doing it just on their phone and they do it maybe once a week or something like that. And that's just not enough to do it successfully. And then if you do it less than once a week, forget it. It's not going to be successful. This is very new technology. So there's a lot of different variables, a lot of things that can go wrong. But for me to do something that is... thank you. That means a lot to me, Lisa. Thanks. Yeah, to get to that point where my live streams are more professional, more enjoyable, and getting down to the actual learning and just having fun and interacting with you guys. And then little by little, her hand is starting to turn where you actually... So, oh, thanks. Yeah, just paying attention to the forms and making sure that I try and make that finger turn, which is very important. Same thing here with this thumb is being affected by the light. And then the question is, how do we do that? But like I always say, for us to do like large paintings, whether they're pastel or airbrush or whatever, these small little drawings or little paint studies is what's gonna make a huge difference, I feel. It's funny, I should have named this, today's stream, The Hand. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm falling in love with this FW ink. I really am, Heath. I love the fact of how it sprays, and it just, I'm really bowled over because I wasn't expecting it. It looked like it when I poured it out of the bottle that this was going to give me problems, but it is real smooth. Real smooth. Definitely rivals Higgins. I'm so pleasantly surprised. I'm going to go ahead and hit this highlight here. So I'm not just going to put this highlight in, but I'm going to try and understand why there's a highlight here for her shoulder. And the reason being is that her shoulder is coming forward. This is the part of her shoulder that is facing the light the most. It's the corner here, the corner of her shoulder. So since it's facing the light, that's when we're having the highlight. And it's a relatively smooth part of her. There's definitely less pores in the shoulder than there are in her face, her cheeks. And then we can, now remember we have the, Colin, how you doing? Good to see ya. Now, there's several ways that we could sort of calm down the white pastel with this paper. First way is as we blend with the stump, we spread it in there and then it becomes less intense. And then the second way is that we can take an eraser and we can erase part of it, and then we can also give texture by tapping, and that's how we give texture to the skin when we add white to the paper. Because skin's irregular, right? It's not totally smooth, and that's why you're going to see a lot of texture. I use a projector, one of those, those digital projectors that they use in offices, and it's a pretty good one called ViewSonic. I got it on sale years ago, and it just works great. And I definitely recommend them over those ones that are, like a brand name just for art, anything that's called an art projector. Stay away from, because it's going to be not as effective and it's going to cost you a lot more money. So use something that you would buy at Staples. That's what I would do, but that's only my opinion. Oh, I've been good. Thank you so much. ViewSonic is VIEWSONIC. And then Autograph is yes. I had one of their opaque projectors, Lisa. The one that used the mirror. I had that so many years. there are so many bad projectors out there, and I think the ones that are geared for artists, they are just ripping people off. You know, when you get them at Staples or Best Buy, you can find the ones that are not made for art projectors are actually the best, and you'll find them on sale for really inexpensive. So I've been looking for some of your live streams, Colin. I haven't been able to see any. I know you've been busy with work, right? That, of course, is much more important. Colin did this live stream not too long ago of a koi, sort of like with with American tattoo style. Really good. Now the projector that I bought, I actually got on sale for like $275, and I would just keep looking for them. I'll keep an eye out for you too, Wendy, because you can definitely get a good. I'll send you later tonight. I'll email you the model that I have, and maybe there's a similar model out there. But you definitely want one that is going to really have a strong light source and also easy to work. Yes, Wendy, it really will. And you know what? Uh, everyone projects. I'm not saying that we shouldn't learn how to draw, using just with the eye. Definitely, we should do both. But when you're working on a painting and you have a project and you want to get as much work done, then projecting will save you tons of time. Wow, $275. That is a great value. Yes, that's what I paid, and I'm so happy with it. I use it so much. If mine died, God forbid, I would borrow money to get another one, because that's how important it is for the workflow. Wow, so Colin says he hasn't done his live streams because of construction renovations, and oh no, your art supplies are packed up. That's so frightening. Oh my God, that's horrible. So hopefully you'll get back in business soon. But hey, you're going to have a nice new house or new looking house, so that's definitely a good trade-off. Okay, so we worked on this. So let's work on these other fingers, and then sort of get this shoulder turning, and I think that will help us. So let's continue, and I'm going to use a 0.3. Yes, Neil Adams, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, went to my high school. Norman Rockwell used a projector, and Caravaggio used a convex mirror, and then Vermeer used a camera obscura. So those artists who say it's cheating, okay, but you're in good company. The grid method is great, and Leonardo used the grid method, so did Michelangelo. I'll tell you, the projector will really speed up your workflow, Lisa. Just really will. So definitely, you will fall in love with the process. I mean, you're still going to have to draw it out. You know, when you project, you have to learn how to project too, because you have to, what do you project? Do you use the pencil too hard? That takes years to perfect. But it just speeds things up, and you'll be surprised. And it doesn't make your work look mechanical. Not at all. But I'll tell you, Natalie, if Vermeer used a camera obscura, he definitely would be using a projector today. See, when I put a little bit of light in that shadow here, it sort of does something, makes it feel a little more alive. And this is where I say it's important not to be a photorealist, that you're going to do some things that is going to help the look of your work, even though that's not what's there. Well, the great thing about the projector is you move it back and forth, and you can actually move it and compose it onto your surface. So case in point, I had this here, and I had this image on a computer. So I was able to project where, let me see, I'll just put this here. So I was able to project where I have all this empty space. So I was able to move the projector over, and it also has a focusing ring, and you can actually make the image larger and smaller on your computer. So it hooks up to your video card where your monitor goes, and then it becomes a monitor, which is really good. Yeah, me too. I like the work to be tight, but I do like when artists use some artistic license to make things look different. There's this one book called The Twilight of Painting by Yves Gamel, and he's one of the Boston painters around the turn of the 20th century. And yes, it goes to the computer, Wendy, and so you can actually use your mouse to make it big and small, larger and small. But what Gamel said in the book Twilight of Painting is a lot of the secrets that these artists have been passing on from generation to generation were lost with the advent of Impressionism, and how there was no longer the apprentice old master relationship. So artists were going off in their own direction, and then each generation had an even more watered down version of what it was, let's say, back in Rembrandt's time or Angada's time. So yeah, when you see this, guys, by using your computer and a digital projector, you could really do some incredible things. And it's a lot easier to compose. Let's say you have a background and a figure, and you can pretty much compose it, which is really good. Yes, that's exactly it, Lisa. That book's out of print. If you find it, grab it. That is an incredible book. So he's saying that a lot of the secrets are lost, and it's up to our generation to try and get some of it back and impart that to our students, and then little by little we might get another Bouguereau or something like that. I believe it to a certain extent. I think with the advent of the digital age, in some aspects we are ahead of them with our tools. I'm using the 6B to create, well, there is a dark where this finger actually meets the arm, but I'm going to exaggerate it a bit so that hand comes forward. That finger comes forward. And I'm sort of just going to stagger it so it doesn't look like an outline. And we'll do that again here. Ah, thank you so much, Lisa. That's cool. Yes, Yves Gamel. The Twilight of Painting. I read that. Oh my God. I think I was like 15 years old or 16 years old. And I was upset because, I was studying painting as a young kid. And the book was telling me, like, oh my God, you mean I'm never going to be able to paint like William Bouguereau or Rembrandt or anything like that it's lost? But there is a part in the book where he says that he's writing this for the painters of his day and also future painters to try and get back the lost secrets of the old masters. So the book does sound pessimistic, but also he has a little bit of optimism at the end. So I also see that I'm a little dark here with this finger. And what I can do is a dusting. Almost like if I'm working with airbrush and I just dust white over very lightly from a far distance. See that? So it's almost like I'm thinking. That's why it's great to work in different mediums, guys, because you can definitely have a different insight on application by working in airbrush or pastel or oils, or in Lisa's case, she works with the brush and with acrylic. She does some great things. And then Colin does some amazing watercolors. And I really liked the watercolor landscape that Wendy did. And then Jake's doing some amazing stuff with gouache. Holy cow. Very true. Yes, I appreciate that. Yeah, Jake. So it's the end result that matters, right? Definitely. And then also you met. Okay, so that's really cool. Neil Adams. I believe he's a fellow alumni. I think I remember him on the art and design page. So yeah, that's pretty cool. He is a nice guy. He always is very happy to talk to anybody. And I believe he did Batman, right? Was that his big thing, Neil Adams, if I'm not mistaken? He was a DC guy, DC Comics. Same thing with this. See how this, when I did a dusting, it kind of makes the hand look better, not so broken up. And I'm going to do a light dusting as well over the whole hand, over the whole finger. And let's do that with this finger down here. Sort of just calms down the contrast. And last but not least, let's do this one here. Okay. Definitely, and that's the great thing. That's what I want to build. I want to. Actually, this is just a pastel pencil. This is a pastel, the Pit Pastel by Faber-Castell, and this is white. And I use it on this paper. It works really well, so I enjoy that. Yes, I want to create that art community where we can learn from each other from different mediums and inspire each other. Maybe to go outside the box and try different mediums. And you know, guys, I'm in no rush to get this hand totally resolved. It'll happen, but you know, and I'm gonna move around because I don't want to stay too long just in this hand. I don't want the drawing to be about the hand, so I'm gonna move around. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start drawing some of these hairs that are in between the hand and the backhand there. So I don't want to use this one because it's way too small of a detail. That is so true. Your fiance is on the money. It's exactly it. It's this is definitely our basketball, our World Series. Is when we are able to talk about art, and sometimes it's so hard in the course of a day. You want to talk about this new medium you learned, or you want to talk about this new technique, and you don't have anyone to talk to in the regular course of a day. So that's why I love this, and that's the art community I want to, and I think we have now, and I want it to grow. And to encompass all mediums. And I have some really lofty goals for this channel, for my YouTube channel, and for these live streams. And one of the things I do is I actually want to have some celebrity painters and actually talk about maybe doing a Skype call, and we can have like a live Q&A with you know, some artists who are fellow alumni and old friends, which would be really cool. And let's see here, it says here, oh, the Superman Broadway show. Yeah. Wow. So let's see what it says. The creator said he was amazed. Oh. Oh, wow. So it says here he couldn't afford to see Superman Broadway. He was poor. Oh, and he actually, wow, that's really cool. That's cool. He went out of his way. Oh, thanks. So you guys would like that if I did, like, let's say a Skype with, you know, maybe one of the leading pastel painters of the day, or someone who is doing something different, and maybe talk about their approach and their artwork, or maybe just like a round table discussion where we can all talk about painting, which would be great. Yeah, we definitely want to do that. 'Cause I remember when I was at the academy, a couple times a year, we would actually have a guest artist, and he would just talk about, you know, talk about the work, you know, talk about what it was like when he was an artist in his day, and you know, the different climate, or even just like entering art shows. And I know you guys definitely would like to learn about the best ways to enter art shows, whether it's a pastel society or what is it? There's an acrylic painter society and local art shows. Or maybe we can do a discussion on how to photograph artwork for shows, that sort of thing. What the jurors look for, what they hate. I actually juried several. Actually, was the judge of several art shows, so I have pretty good insight as to what will win an award and what won't win an award when you apply a piece to an art competition. And you'll be surprised. It don't. And one of the things is like always see who is the artist who is judging the contest. If someone is a landscape painter and you're a figurative painter, the landscape painter is the juror and the judge. I would wait and maybe do some, have your work in a different show, because chances are he's going to pick what he likes. And so that's something to think about. Yeah, I want this to be like an online art magazine. And also, but also I do like the fact is that we can also have these live streams during, yes, the Acrylic Society. Exactly, Jake. What is it? There's also NOPES. Is it NOPES? It's the National Organization of Acrylic Painters. That's a show they have every year. I believe they're based in Kansas. And then, of course, there are a lot of colored pencil societies, watercolor societies, and then just, a lot of societies like the Audubon Society, Audubon Artists. They're located in New York, and they have a show every year. Okay. I'm going to hold off on that highlight because I don't like the way it looks. Maybe if I develop the shoulder here, it's going to look a little better. But right now, I think that highlight was just a little premature and it was a little distracting. And of course, this is the stump dedicated to the white pastel. I'm going to come back to this hand, but right now what we're going to do is we're going to move around. And to me, that's important, to keep things moving so you don't get too pigeonholed into one area. And then you lose like the relationship of this hand with this shoulder with the chin, and all the values. And the relativity is how intense they are. Yes, definitely. Did I tell you one year I was in 30 shows and I won 20 awards that year. That was crazy. My paintings were in every corner of the nation, and that was a lot of work. I ended up making money from awards. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a living, but it was pretty good money. Oh, thanks, Ruth. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much, Colin. She's coming along, right? Little by little. And as long as I don't get emotional about it and I just, stick with the fundamentals, she'll come together. And I really hate this contour here, so I'm going to resolve that right now. And if you notice my technique, I'm always going over contours. I'm always reiterating contours because that is so important. Oh, definitely, yes. And I definitely know what galleries ask for. That's if you wanna enter your work in galleries. But definitely they want a theme. The work, definitely, if you're going to a gallery, they want your work to be recognizable as you from far away. So when they see your work, they want it to be like, oh, that's Lisa or that's Heath. Uh, so, oh, thank you. I feel that way too, and it's going to belong even more when I get more in detail. But thank you so much for that vote of confidence. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to extend this light, and then we're going to use the stump, and then we're going to use the eraser to get that skin texture. Yeah, it's a slippery slope, right? Some of my favorite favorite paintings sold in the very first show, and I knew when I did that painting that sometimes that painting is just special, right, from the very beginning. But we have to let them go, and I know for me, like, that's our main thing. But I do understand what you mean. If you kept it in shows and kept winning money, that would be good too. You might not have to go with the Mevo. You can actually, if that's not too expensive, you can go this route. But the Mevo, I heard, was really good. And so I like this, Colin, because I have the different camera angles. This is pretty good if I want to show different aspects of getting texture, like what my hand is doing. And then we have this camera. So if you want to see a little more close up of how I shaped the kneaded eraser. But yeah, the different angles is what really sets your channel out from everybody. And I think it's just more giving as a live stream to the viewers. And that is my motivation, is being much more giving to those who took the time out to view my live streams. And of course, this one here, you can see my crazy hair. It's not good. I need gel or something. Let's see. So Colin, definitely, if you get that Mevo, I'd love to know how it is. I don't know enough about it, but I know you can definitely do different angles, split screens, and it's very... Now, do you have... I know it works for Apple products. Are you an Apple guy, or are you, Colin, a Android user? Because I know it wasn't available for Android when I was thinking about it. Albert's really cool. I've met him several times at the Pastel Society of America. We were in shows together. Very nice guy. In one of the shows he judged, he gave me an award, and he said a really nice thing about it. He left a note, which is really nice. So, yeah, I do like Albert. He's pretty cool. Oh, thank you guys. Thanks, Natalie. And I definitely think I found my calling with this, and I definitely would like to continue doing this full time, because I think people need this, And so I got different ideas where, you know, perhaps I'll be able to do this full time. Hopefully. Uh, Now you said like kneaded erasers? Heath, is that it? Like kneaded erasers like these guys? Whoop, where is it? Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, so it looks like okay, yes. Oh, yes, kneaded erasers, definitely. They are great. I can't draw without a kneaded eraser. They just have too many really good. This main camera has frozen. It does that because of the. It's something with this thing with the HDMI cable. So I'm going to try and turn it off and turn it back on. Let's see if that works. And just bear with me, guys. I am just going to, let's see, let's put this camera here. Sometimes when I just reset everything, that really helps. It's funny, I'm a total one-man band with this. So let's see if this helps. So I'm going to go back to camera 1. Yes, look at that. I'm also tech support, guys. Yeah, that camera just froze on me. It's but this is the first time I was actually able to fix it, so that felt good. Well, it was only compatible with Apple about 4 or 5 months ago, so I would double check with that. Hopefully, they said it was coming out for Android, so definitely check into it. Also, you can also go with several of these little cameras, the Logitechs, which are really good, like the C920, the C922. Those are really good. They're only $50 each, and they hook up to your USB port. So you can have, with the XSplit program, which I have now, you can have several cameras going at once. And it's very easy to go from one camera to the next. So what do you think, guys? My camera froze. I was able in midstream to go ahead and fix it. So that was pretty funny, huh? So that was pretty cool. So let's see. I'm gonna, before I go, I'm just gonna try and IT artist, exactly. Thank you so much. I tell you, it was funny, Heath. You know, I'm also like, tech has always been something of a love of mine, and yes, exactly. I'm tech support. I'm the cameraman, sound, writing, graphic design. It's funny. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to try and find the shapes of these darks. They're not really darks, they call it like midtones. And I'm going to try and find that shape here. And I'm going to start with light cross hatching. So I don't want to go too dark, but I do want to. It definitely. Oh, would it work? I think I seen it when I was on their website that it did work with an iPad. I think you might have a better time. Now, you have a laptop, a really powerful laptop? Because well, you would at least need a i5 quad-core processor. Something like that with at least like 16 gigs of RAM. And that would, and then and also a video card. A good video card is dedicated, because otherwise, if you don't, the live stream will just eat up your resources. Yeah, the older one is gonna, it's not gonna work. You're gonna have a hard time, especially with several cameras going at the same time. Uh, you can probably get a good enough PC for around 400, maybe even if you got one refurbished. It's good to have a laptop, because the laptops now are probably less than the desktops. And plus, I can take my live streams elsewhere. I can take it to where I work the airbrushes, that different studio in my house. I can even take it, if I'm ever over my mom's house, I can do a live stream from there. So it's nice to have the laptop. You're more mobile. If I'm ever homeless, I can have it underneath the overpass of Route 80. Hopefully we don't get there. You know, it's funny, when I did get the PC, uh, you know, this particular PC, let me see if I can turn it, this laptop here. When I purchased this laptop last year, it was an i7 processor. It had a dedicated video card, and I was actually going to get a desktop. But honestly, I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but part of me was like, what if my life changed and, you know, I have to do like videos someplace else? So unfortunately, that's sometimes the thinking that we do have. Yes, that's right, Colin. You pitched your tent. We'll have an art colony underneath the overpass of Route 80. Oh my God. You know, it's the things that we think about when we get older, right? Because, you know, we live life, we've seen a lot of stuff, and never say never. Every day is a gift, and every day that we have enough money to, you know, to eat and to pay car insurance is you know, is such a blessing. I don't take it for granted. And then what I'm going to do is just extend this dark here. That's right, from the Port Authority, from the bus terminal. When it gets too cold, we can go where the buses load. At least we won't freeze. But then again, we don't want to do it in the subways because they'll steal our laptops. Okay, so I'm going to take this one, which is the stump dedicated to the graphite, and we're just going to go ahead and darken this up. And the same thing that we did with the white pastel, we can go ahead and do the same thing with the graphite. You know, we can use the stump, but then we can also use this right here, and we can gain that skin texture, and also how the turning of the form is not so harsh as it turns. Then you really feel like the drawing is painterly. You no longer feel like it's done with a pencil point. It becomes fluid. And then looking at this, we definitely can see that we might have to lower the contrast a little bit on this hand. But that's part of moving around. If I didn't move around, then I wouldn't know that I'm going too dark with the hand. Then we'll go to this angle. And you can see we're starting to get that nice turning of the form. Yeah, exactly. They definitely would want our compressors. Too funny. They would think, you know, I would take my airbrush, guys, and I worked last year at Amazon. I was there for 10 years. And when I first started airbrushing, I would take this with me, and while I was on the phone, I would just be, you know, moving the trigger and taking it apart, putting it back together, you know, pretending I was painting with the airbrush. And people were looking at me like, did you actually bring a pipe to work? And I'm like, yeah, no. It was so funny, but everyone thought it was a pipe, Colin. Yeah, I don't want to be on the episode of Cops, right? If they, if the police think it's a crack pipe or, you know, marijuana pipe. So I used to live in this really rough neighborhood in New Jersey, a rough city called Patterson. And if you ever watch the show Cops, you'll definitely see that. That show, I mean, Patterson was like there was like 6 or 7 episodes of Cops in Patterson. That's such a nice place it was. I mean, it is a nice place, but it's just riddled with crime. But yeah, if you were driving in a certain neighborhood, they would definitely ask you, what are you doing there? Because they would think that you're buying drugs. Yeah, but that, you know, you're in a bad neighborhood when you're watching Cops and you say, hey, I know where that is. Oh, you know why? That's a good question, Heath. As you become more advanced with the airbrush, you want to do things faster. And one of the things... oh, Ruth, you drove through there by mistake. Yeah, Patterson is scary. You know, that's for sure. I lived there for several years, so I got used to it. Like anything else, we get used to it. And then right here, since I have it off, I have access to needle really quick. So if I have a real rough clog in the nozzle, I could loosen the chucking nut and just have the air down and just pull back, and then all the air will shoot out anything that is in the way. And also I have the needle cap off, so I could, if there's a tip dry with my fingernails, I can pretty much take care of it that way. Another reason is that without the needle cap, you can actually get even finer lines. So that's pretty cool. I'll tell you though, even though, I lived in Patterson and it was a rough neighborhood, the people were the sweetest people. The kids are sweeter. I don't know, it just seemed like, there was a real give back as far as your neighbors and how helpful they are and how down to earth everybody was. I remember one time I had a flat tire and 3 or 4 neighbors came out of their house to help me, and you don't get that in the nice neighborhoods. And so yeah, it's a give and take. I miss the bodegas, and there was this Mexican couple that owned the bodega, and they were so great. They would always give me like a tamale, and estoy aprendiendo la lengua, so yo puedo hablar español también. So when I was saying I also speak Spanish, so when they hear Spanish come out of my mouth, they're like, oh my God, and they're so surprised, and they're just very warm that I try and speak their language as well. So that part is pretty cool. No street lights, boarded up windows. Hey, were you by my house? Yeah, that's pretty cool. You go through those neighborhoods and you're like, okay, people have it rough, but things I really love, I want is those neighborhoods to be fixed up so the people who live there. Sí, estoy aprendiendo la lengua, pero me encanta el idioma. So yes, I'm fluent in Spanish. And definitely, that has helped me in life. I just picked it up when I lived in Florida. And there are bad experiences too, Ruth. Yes, I mean, there was like a quadruple homicide, right down the block from my house, my apartment where I lived. So it is a give and take, Ruth, right? But it's best not to live in a crime-ridden area. It's just safer. And it's a shame because Patterson has a rich history with this. It was the silk capital of the United States, as you know. And their library was actually, the architect was the same architect who did the Lincoln Memorial. And in their library, they have this big library in the middle of Patterson. And that they have, incredible paintings there. I mean, they have paintings by Malay, 19th century artists. They have like 19th century academic paintings there. It's just amazing. William Merritt Chase. They have a William Merritt Chase there. So many different resources, and just the best library system ever. They get like a stipend of like $400,000 a year for their library, which is really great. Actually, yes, I am. So I did my ancestry DNA, and I'm like Irish, like 60%, and then 20-something% English, and then I have like a mixture of Spaniard and then Western European. Now, what's really cool is that with my DNA, I'm actually 3% Arabic. So I thought that was pretty cool. Has anyone out there done their ancestry DNA? Oh, let's see what Jake has to say. Jake says, stay away from autograph. I definitely understand that. And Jake also says here, interesting, something's going on with the, something's going on with the chat over at Facebook. It's sort of moving around a little bit. So, Jake, are you still out there? Drop me a quick line. Let me know. And maybe just needs you to just write something, and then that will sort of knock it back into shape. Ah, thank you. Thank you so much, little by little. I just want to make sure that the turning is nice and gradual. And I don't want it to be too harsh. Then so yes, so basically I'm going to try and find some of these borders here. Oh wow, Irish, English, Scandinavian, German, European, Greek, Italian, Middle Eastern. Wow, so you're Irish, English, Scandinavian, German, East European. Oh, are you Middle Eastern as well? That's amazing. Wow. The Middle Eastern comes from Spain. If you have Spaniard blood in it, most likely. It'll come from the mixture in Spain, that's for sure. Oh, okay, Jake, now I see you. So I redid the chat, so now I can see you. Cool. Okay. Just want to make sure I was paying attention to you. Oh, that would be great. That would be fantastic, Wendy. That would really be good. Now, what would that do if I uploaded it to those guys? Wow, Iranian, Siberian? Oh, how cool is that? That's really interesting. And I'm probably staying on this area too long, and I should move around. Let's see. I'm just gonna basically just leave that like that, and then here I can see that it gets a little like there's not much contrast once we get down from here. So I want to make sure I remove any contrast that might be there. And I have to pay attention to exactly what's happening value-wise and how these values are bordering with the darker values. Wow, pretty cool. So Wendy, that's pretty neat. Very cool. That is so neat, Wendy. Have you thought about doing it, Lisa? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Sorry about that. Let me look. Let me see, Lisa. Let's see. What did you say? So I'm going to go check out what you said, Lisa. Sorry about that. So I'm keeping. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I did see here. Let's see. Okay, so you're black, Jewish, Irish, Spanish, and English. That's a really good combination. Wow. That's why you have that exotic look about you. It's so cool. Sometimes I miss some parts of the conversation, so sorry about that, guys. Okay, so I'm going to be done with the arm for now, that's for sure. So the shoulder part, and we'll work on that again. So let's see, what would be, okay, let's see if we could work on this part of the hand, which is a little bit dark, and then we'll call it a day, that's for sure. I'll tell you, we got a lot done, although it wasn't the most exciting parts, but still much needed. So were you guys nervous when you did your DNA, like what you're going to get when you come back? Because, you know, our parents told us we were something, and, you know, and what comes back is like totally different. I was surprised of the English. There was no indication of the English. There was indication that we had the Irish, of course, and the Spaniard, but Middle Eastern and the English, which was pretty high, like 20 something percent, we had no idea. Because if you think about it, only our, maybe our parents could go back maybe 3 generations most. So it's kind of hard just on hearsay what exactly we are as far as DNA is concerned. Wow, how cool is that? Black and Korean and Cherokee, that is nice. I think that's amazing. To find out just how diverse we really are. Wow, that is really neat, Colin, that's for sure. So right here, let me pull this down. There we go. So right here, I see that what I have is not congruent with what's here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fix that in the drawing. So your dad would be 93, and so 1 generation back, then your great grandmother. Yeah, you see, and wow, you see that? You never know, right? Wendy and Lisa, it's so cool. Like when we're brave enough to go back into our ancestry, into our DNA, what we'll find. And it does take bravery, that's for sure. Japanese, wow. Pretty cool. Oh, Jake, man, thanks so much. I appreciate that. And thanks so much for the hand. We're going to go ahead, Jake, and next week we'll resolve the hand even more. And, okay, man, have a good day at work tomorrow. Keep doing those great paintings, and I'll let you know when I'm going to do the live stream and finish up that sepia painting. Oh, Ruth, Romanian. Okay, cool. So that would be cool, Ruth, if you ever did your DNA tests. You probably find out a lot of other countries in Europe. There was a lot of mixing going on. So cool. I remember when we were all kids, we all identified with one thing, like, oh yeah, that's the Italian kid, that's the Irish kid, and and now it's kind of hard with the advent of DNA to just call yourself the Irish kid or what have you. I mean, we thought for a long time that we were 100% Irish because both grandparents came from Ireland. But there was like talk in one side of my family of Spanish blood in the family. So there was an indication that we had Spanish blood, but none of us knew about the English blood at all. Wow, that's so neat. All that work we did today is going to pay off, because this is going to be the supporting actor or supporting actress of what we're going to do here, and go much darker and detailed, and it's going to all come together. Same thing once we really get some detailed hairs here, and work on this hand, it's really going to all come together. So right now this was a lot of the hard work, was this part right here today. There was one person who just got Irish, was a friend of mine, just like, because granted you're going to have some trace, but he actually came up with 100%. That was on Ancestry. So we thought we were 100%. Turned out the Irish was 61%. So that was a shocker. I mean, we're 97% European, but we do have that 3% Middle Eastern in us, which is really neat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, my family was surprised, a lot of them, that they weren't 100% Irish. Like I said, both grandparents came from Ireland, so you've kind of, everyone was like, oh, I guess we're 100% Irish. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and there's this really nice dark on the upper lip as it turns under. And then it's kind of light here. Let's see. Let's see if I could indicate that lip with basically just using the paper. And then here, it doesn't extend as far out as I thought. Exactly. And what's interesting, Colin, when I did my DNA, we also, they narrowed it down to the south of Ireland. And that's, my family actually came to New York during that period, late 1800s, early 1900s. And, with the IRA and all that stuff, I mean, it was pretty rough. And the Irish ghettos and the Italian ghettos, in New York and Boston, they were pretty rough. Yes, it's going to be so great when I send you guys the packet with the supplies you need, and I'll send you guys two, so you can have one where, you could work with me and maybe do a second one where I'll project it for you exactly the way mine's projected, so we can go step by step. It'll be really great. I'm thinking of doing airbrush lessons that way as well, and then pastel once I figure out how to make it so Jack Richardson doesn't steal my idea again. This time, maybe be successful. I don't want that. Just going to calm that down. And you know, all the years of painting in pastel really helps me with this drawing technique. And no time like the present, so let's go ahead and add these highlights here on this bottom lip. See, now we're doing some fun stuff. Some fun detail. Yes, you know, it's always hard to do the parts of the painting that isn't as fun, you know? Folds for me, ugh, that's hard to get through, you know? Oh, well, thank you so much, Ruth. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, Ruth, are you from the New York area? And you can see how that's really very ardent with that light. So I'm just going to calm it down a little bit. Oh, cool, Ruth. Oh, how cool. That's very neat. It's cool that what a great diverse group we have, which is so cool, you know, and you know all the knowledge that you know we have on different topics, and that's a lot of fun. Oh, now, forgive me. What is MICA? Oh, no. This is just a like a stump that I use, and then so everything's all graphite and then graphite and colored pencil with the white. That's it. Uh, Heath, no black pastel at all. It would really have a hard time because the the black pastel is matte and then the pencil has a shiny finish. Oh, Maryland Institute College of Art. I heard good things about that school. One of my students was actually applying to that or thinking to applying. That was actually a hard school to get into. And of course, I'm just tapping to reestablish the subtlety of the transition tones. there is a little bit of a separation in value between the lower lip and this part of her chin. So I gotta make sure that I get it, but don't go too harsh, because I know that if I go too harsh, I'm gonna lose that effect. It's almost totally lost here, but then picks up as it goes lower. I lived in a residence for artists years ago. That's where I lived in Patterson, and it was great. I mean, it was a program. It wasn't like an artist community. It was just like a subsidy for artists, and it was great. We were only paying $200 a month rent for a 3-bedroom split level townhouse. It was great. Alexander, how you doing? From Atlanta, right? This guy, if you get a chance, look up Alexander Austin's murals on Facebook. He's unbelievable. Just knocks it out of the park, you know? The guy's incredible. Good to see you, Alexander. Ah, thanks. I appreciate it. Now what I'm going to do is it's a little darker underneath her eye here. And part of me is like, you know, if you see here, see how it's a little darker here? And I don't have that there. But it really was great not having to worry about. And if my income went down, my rent went down. I really missed that. I'm going to look into that again because, you know, things have changed economically. So I am going to go and try and get into that program again. And what's great is a lot of programs, and you can actually look into the programs in your area. And if you want, I can. Now, you're in the New York area, is that right, Lisa? I'm so bad. I know Wendy's in Texas, Colin is in Canada, Alexander's in Georgia, Ruth, I just found out, is in Maryland, Jake's in North Carolina. And Lisa, I think you're in the New York area. Am I right? $800 a month for art supplies? Holy Toledo, is that amazing? I'm going to look into that. That sounds really good. Must be rough to get into, though. But that doesn't mean that one can't try. So what's cool is, I don't know if everyone knows, like right here is the chat from YouTube. I'm streaming on YouTube, and right here is the chat from Facebook. So that's really cool. So that's one of the latest things I learned. I think it was last week how to do that. Whoa, free rent? Holy cow. So hopefully they go by portfolio, right? That would be really good. Portfolio. Hector, ¿cómo estás? Hector, he lives in Chile. ¿Cómo te sientes hoy, Hector? Hey, Heath, man, always a pleasure. I'm definitely going to send you a quick email when I go ahead and do those, do the sepia one, because I know you'll be interested in seeing that. So, always great hanging out, talking about art, Heath. There's a new video coming out, part 5 of the portrait, and I'll also let you know when that comes out. Always great, man. Thanks so much for stopping by, Heath. Heath is in Canada. Cool. That's good. I like that. It should be a combination of work, artwork and need, right? Someone who's doing really great artwork, yet they have a lot of money, that should be in consideration. Maybe they can subsidize it with, whatever kind of income they have, and that sort of thing. But also not just income based. If the person's not an active artist who doesn't, produce work, that's important. That was my only complaints in that area. As far as in British Columbia, yes, so cool. Now, are you near Vancouver, Heath? I love has anyone been to Vancouver? There's a couple of YouTubers that live in Vancouver, and I just love the way it looks there. So as you see, guys, now that we got away from the hand and the shoulder, I'm moving around a lot. And that's what you want to do, is you want to gauge exactly what's going on. You don't want one area being too light in relation to the other. Then you lose that sense of the light sort of washing across. Light's always washing across the forms. And when you have the relationships of intensity of light and intensity of shadow and reflected light, that's when you get that feeling of like a Johannes Vermeer or a Rembrandt, where you can actually feel the heat of that light. Wow, Wendy, you are very nice. I wish you were on the board. But thank you so much for that vote of confidence, Wendy. Well, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. This technique was actually born out of traveling back and forth to my job at Amazon for 10 years on the trains. So I would do portraits like this on the trains, every day. And this is how I actually learned how to use the paper with this technique. Oh, wow, that's cool. Oh wow, this is pretty good that you know someone on the board. Maybe you can give me a good word. But then again, I'd never been out to New Mexico. I don't know how I would be away from Manhattan. I mean, I don't go into Manhattan every day, but just that it's there is comforting. When I was in high school, I used to travel back and forth to the High School of Art and Design. Then after that, the National Academy School of Fine Arts. So I rode the subways a lot. And Harvey Dinnerstein, my teacher, and also Erwin Greenberg was my teacher in high school. They were big advocates. And yeah, that's right, Wendy, get us all in. See, Ruth has the right idea. We don't need live streams. We'll all be in. We'll all be over there in New Mexico. Yes, and the train. So I learned how to do these really quick drawings and even use the white pastel from a very young age. And that's really where I always had a love for drawing ever since I was a little boy, but really the love for doing portraits. It's funny that people often ask me when I do portraits, like when I pose my own portraits, why are the people always so serious? And that's a good question. And what basically I found when I was doing the portraits, the quick drawings of the people commuting back and forth on the buses and the trains, is that when we were alone, we were all very serious and we're all very introspective. And that's why, I don't have too many people with a variance of emotions. This one is a difference in emotion. She's not stoic, but most of the time people are very serious when they're alone or when they're deep in thought and, just thinking about life. Wow, yes, I heard the light is really strong, a lot different than it is, I imagine, from here in New York City. I am about 4 or 5 miles from Manhattan. I can actually, from my other studio, I can actually see the Empire State Building, so that's pretty cool. That would be even better, Wendy. That is so cool. Yeah, I think that would be fantastic, as far as, an art community. Augusta St. Gaudens had a really nice artist colony. I think it was in Massachusetts. The sculptor, Augusta St. Gaudens. Yeah, I could imagine with that harsh lighting that once things change, those shadows are going to really drastically shift. Now I do see, before I end the live stream, we actually went, oh, so you went, that's right, I remember, you went to Music and Art, Lisa. Yes. And you were a commuter from Bronx to Manhattan. Okay, very much like myself. What was it, the 4, 5, or 6? Did you take those trains? Or was it the 1 or the 2? Oh, that's nice of you to say, Lisa. That's... Oh, the 6 train. Very cool. Very cool. Yes, all you ladies are very beautiful. I'm very, very honored to be hanging with you ladies here on a Wednesday evening. There's some really interesting light shifts here. Not light shifts, shadow shifts. Very cool. Yes, it's an honor hanging out with you ladies today. Now, what's a Robin grant? Is that similar to an art grant, that sort of thing? See, I'm in the dark of a lot of things. I need you guys to help me out. Oh, okay, cool. And remember, it's not so much the value itself that defines it, but the value next to it that really brings it to life. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this area darker by lightening the adjacent area. And then of course we're going to smooth that out. But you see that really brings her nose further up to us. Get a better sense of the three-dimensional qualities of her face. Thank you so much, Wendy. Yes, definitely. I want to, so definitely send that to me, Lisa. That is so cool. I can't wait to see it. So between the cheek on this side and the nose, up until where the nostril is, there's no border whatsoever. And you know, it's like our proclivity is to go ahead and put a border, right? So we got to make sure that we don't. So one artist, Ted said Jacobs, in his book Light for the Artist, he said that we are too hung up on symbolism, and you know, as far as the symbolic nature, that blonde hair is yellow, trees are brown, sky's gray. If those are the symbols that we have to deal with, and we have to fight those symbols to see things for what they really are, and our brain always gets in the way. And that's something that I fight all the time as well, that I really have to work hard not to have that creep into my work. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I'm so glad that, you know, that today's was helpful. That's for sure. And remember, I always liken light to be like snow on a mountain, where its peaks is where you're going to get the most snow. Same thing, where the light is actually peaking exactly towards the light, that's where you're going to get the heaviness of the white. something was weird with the function of the YouTube chat today, and that basically is a problem with the actual app. So I wasn't able to see everything that Jake was saying. As you can see, I'm moving around a lot. It's, going back and forth and getting sort of, almost like you gain momentum. And you can see I use different tools. Like right now, I'll just use the blending stump dedicated to the pastel. Dedicated to the graphite. And then I can just make sure I calm down the edges. Just make sure I continue that feeling of the sense of air. So what I want to do, if you notice that the forehead has a lot of texture, like our main things that have a forehead just flat, but there's a lot going on. There's muscles and there's bone and there's skin. So we have to actually go ahead and work on that as well. So that is something that we always have to be mindful of, to make sure that we're seeing things the way they are and not the symbols that are in our heads, like I spoke of earlier. So I think, wow, so I started this at 9 o'clock. So this has been, oh my God, 2.5 hours I streamed. So that's really cool. So thank you everyone who stayed with me that long. It's an honor. That's so cool. And so probably tomorrow, do me a favor. My email address, or you can instant message me on Facebook, or you could email me paintedglyphs@gmail.com, and this way you can send me your email address, and I could give you put you on a mailing list, so I can let you know when the next live stream's coming up. If you're available, it'd be cool to talk with you. So let's see. So this is going to be, I'm not going to keep this on, I might keep it on Facebook, but it's definitely going to be on YouTube. So you definitely can look at it again. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate it. Thank you, Wendy, Ruth, Austin, and Colin. And let's see. I know I'm going to forget people. I'm so sorry. Wendy, it's always great. Heath, okay. And Héctor, muchísimas gracias. Estoy muy contento de verte esta noche. And then we have, Alexander, and then Jake, he already left. So, okay, guys, so I hope you have a great Wednesday night. It was fun talking to you, and have the best night, guys. Take care.